To Last Credit here comes you guys another review podcast. And today we're going to be talking Blade Runner. We're going to be giving our thoughts on the, what is it? Is it 89 Blade Runner? When did it come out?
1982, man.
82. Okay, yeah, I was
A lot of
way
stuff
off.
came out in
82. It's so weird because it's that movie is so old. That movie looks so fucking good. I always thought it was
well, they
younger
cleaned
than
up.
that, I
They
guess.
cleaned up the final cut quite a bit. Like they did a lot of enhancement and stuff to the final cut to make it look a lot more,
Cleaner.
well, a lot less like a movie made in 1982.
Yeah. But we're going to be talking about the 82 Blade Runner, and we're going to be giving our thoughts on Blade Runner 2049. And this review will contain spoilers for both Blade Runner 82 and Blade Runner 2049. So if you haven't seen either, please go out and watch them. I think they're both great movies, but we'll get into all that in a second. I'm here with Will and Miller. Will, you've been kind of sick, but how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm going to try and keep my side on mute because I am still hacking up a lung, but you may hear me like violently coughing every so often. So just ignore my death.
And Miller, how are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Cool. Well, let's get into it. Miller, what do you think of the original Blade Runner, the original 1982 Blade Runner?
I think it's really boring, and I think it's it really feels like a predecessor to 2049 because very pretty movies and some great things in it, but just a really boring movie that I was like. And both of them, weirdly enough, I started off really liking, and then they just went on and on, especially 2049. So,
what version, Miller, of Blade Runner, or what versions have you seen?
I saw the final cut.
That's the only one?
I have them. I had the Blu-ray, so I have them all. I just haven't, is there any... If I didn't like the final cut, is there any point in going back and watching the other versions?
I really like the narration in the theatrical cut. And I think, even though I miss the narration in the final cut, there was a lot of good stuff that they put in the final cut that I think ultimately makes it a better movie. But having Harrison Ford narrate the movie in a kind of Joe Friday, Humphrey Bogart kind of a way, it helps to move the story along a little bit better. It doesn't feel as boring, I guess.
Didn't Harrison Ford hate the narration?
I don't know. I don't know who liked it and who hated it. All I know is
I think Harrison Ford hated it.
Didn't Ridley Scott hate it?
Probably, yeah.
I think they made Ridley Scott put it in.
Yeah,
I mean, that might be true because they probably looked at it and they're like, "Man, this is really fucking boring. You need to put something in here to keep the audience's interest."
Well, that's what they did because they had test screenings and everyone was fucking bored and no one understood it. And the studio made Ridley Scott put the narration and change the ending. So,
well, I like the ending in the director's cut and the final cut because it's the same ending in both. I like the newer ending better, but I miss the narration. That narration is necessary. I'm sorry you hated it, Ridley Scott, but it's necessary to the film.
I don't think it's necessary. I don't think the movie's that hard to follow. I mean, I get it. It adds some of that noir to it, but
okay, maybe necessary is too strong of a word, but it's definitely beneficial to the film.
I've seen some. I haven't seen the theatrical cut, but I've seen some scenes with the narration on YouTube. I don't really like it, but I haven't seen it in full. So, and I don't think is there any difference between the directors? Is there? Well, I know there's a difference, but how much of a difference is there between the directors and final cut?
Not a lot. Basically the differences between the director's cut and the final cut is that the director's cut, Ridley Scott didn't actually work on it. He gave them some notes because he was busy doing Thelma and Louise at the time, so he couldn't work on it himself. So he gave the studio some notes, and he said, "Here, this is what I want." And somebody else completely independent of him edited the director's cut together, and he felt it was sloppy. And basically, the final cut was just him fine-tuning the director's cut. And that's when they added all the enhancements and cleaned up the picture and did all that stuff too. So the final cut is basically, it's a tighter version of the director's cut, and then also cleaned up quite a bit.
Oh god.
Okay. So Will, what do you think of the original 1982 Blade Runner?
I like it. I don't love it. I think it's a good movie. I don't think it's a great movie. It's always been that movie that I'll watch when it comes on television. I did buy the Blu-ray that has every cut of the film, but I haven't watched all the cuts. And but I the only reason I bought that Blu-ray is because it's a movie I'll watch every so often, and it was cheap. I think I got it for like $10 or something.
Have you just not seen the director's cut?
Do what?
Have you just not seen the director's cut?
No, I've seen the theatrical cut, the director's cut, and the final cut. I haven't seen the work print and the international cut. Because there are 5 different versions. There are 5 different versions of that movie.
I didn't know that. I didn't know about the other 2.
Yeah, there are 5 different versions of that movie and they're all on this like 6-disc DVD set. So I've only seen the director's cut once, and I've only seen the final cut once, and most of my knowledge of most of the times that I've seen the theatrical cut since I've been a child was mostly just on television. Because like I said, it's one of those movies that when you're flipping through cable in the late 80s, early 90s, and you're a kid that likes science fiction and there's nothing better on, yeah, that's a good movie. It's about robots and stuff. Totally not child appropriate, but whatever.
Yeah.
Neither was RoboCop. Neither was most of the movies that kids in the 80s gravitated towards, to be honest.
What were you going to say?
I was just going to say, I mean, I like it. It's a good movie. It's not a great movie. But it's a good movie. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the original.
I really like the original Blade Runner. I haven't seen the director's cut. I haven't seen the final cut. I mean, not the final cut, the theatrical cut. I've only seen the final cut. I have it on Blu-ray, and I really like it. I think it has some pacing problems, and I fucking hate the unicorn dream. I think that is the stupidest fucking thing ever. Anyways, I hate the unicorn scene, and I love all the performances. I love the ambiguity of it. I mean, it's a beautiful movie, beautiful special effects for. I guess that would be like 2006, whatever, when the final cut came out, since they kind of finished, reworked some of the CGI and special effects in the movie. But it's a beautiful movie. I love its message about humanity and what makes us human, and I love the ending to the final cut. I know what the ending of the theatrical cut is. I hate it, and I love the ending to the final cut. And the Tears and Rain monologue from Roy is like one of the best scenes I've ever seen in a movie before. So I really love it. Will, what do you think? What do you think of the entire thing with Deckard possibly being a replicant?
I think it's stupid. I think it to be honest, it really detracts from the whole point of the original movie, because the whole point of the original movie was a man without any humanity, basically finding his humanity because of these robots. Like, that was the whole point of the movie.
And apparently Ridley Scott doesn't think that, because he thinks if Deckard is not a replicant, then the entire message of the movie is out the window.
What?
Yeah, that's what
If
Ridley
Deckard
Scott thinks.
is a if I heard what you said, I'm just trying to process it. If Deckard is a replicant, that undermines the entire point of that. Throws the whole story out the window.
But Ridley Scott thinks if Deckard is not a replicant, then the entire message of the movie is compromised.
See, and now Harrison Ford has said that the whole Deckard being a replicant thing was there, or possibly being a replicant thing was there in the script, and he was intentionally playing against that because he thought it was fucking stupid.
Yeah, even the writer of the book thinks it's stupid.
Right.
Except
Philip
Ridley
K.
Scott
Dick.
thinks it's
Right.
stupid.
Philip K. Dick has even said that that's fucking stupid, and it guts the whole story.
Yeah, Miller, what do you have any opinion on the entire thing with Deckard may or may not be a replicant?
Not really, but I haven't really thought about it a ton. But I'm leaning towards what you guys are saying. But I'd have to think about it more to give a real opinion.
I am really glad that the new movie didn't even touch on it.
Yeah, I like that.
Well, they kind of touched on it,
but they didn't make it like a big point.
Yeah,
right.
And that's something that I'm gonna bring up in a second. Now we're gonna start talking about Blade Runner 2049. Will, what did you think of Blade Runner 2049?
My thoughts of Blade Runner 2049 are pretty much the exact same as my thoughts about Arrival were. I think it's beautifully shot. It's beautifully produced. It's it's well cast. All the actors are wonderful. All the performances are fantastic. It really does a good job of drawing you into the world. I love the production design. I love everything about this movie. It fucking bored the shit out of me. Like that's the downfall of the movie, and unfortunately that's a major fucking downfall. I think if somebody would sit Denis Villeneuve down and actually give him a class on like pacing.
Have you ever seen Prisoners?
I think no. The only
Prisoners has great pacing.
The only Villanova movies I've seen are Arrival and Blade Runner.
Prisoners has such good pacing that it honestly feels like another director directed that movie. The pacing in Prisoners is incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much done. I mean, I thought that the movie had a very good premise. And I thought that the story was a good story to develop and examine. I just didn't like the way really that it was executed. It just was really fucking boring. I felt like there was a lot of stuff at the beginning. The first half of the movie, a lot of stuff could have gone. And I mean, I'm not sure what it would be. I'd have to actually sit down and examine the movie. But I just feel like a lot of that could have gone. And at first, I was really on board with how they were leading into the Deckard thing because they didn't shoehorn Harrison Ford into the movie right at the beginning. I liked that they were building up to it. I liked that there was a reason for him to be in the movie. Other than just because it's Blade Runner and he's Harrison Ford. But when it got to be an hour and a half into the movie and still no fucking Harrison Ford, I was just like, come on, movie. This is ridiculous at this point.
I will say that I was wondering, like, where the hell is Deckard at? But I was pleasantly surprised, I guess, how far that was into the movie. And I think it worked well. I mean, they really took their time in developing the plot before they brought Deckard in, and I liked it.
I just think they took too much time, though. It just felt like it dragged a lot that first half. And
I will say though that when he actually gets one of my very few negatives of this movie, when he actually gets there to Deckard's house in Vegas or whatever, it takes way too fucking long for him to actually meet Deckard. It is just like 10 minutes of silent shots of Ryan Gosling just looking at things, and it's like, okay, half of this could have been cut out.
Yeah. And
But
I feel like a lot of the first half of the movie is that way.
I didn't think that with the first half of it, but I did think it would just in that entire sequence where Ryan Gosling was just wandering around.
I feel like this movie could have been 2:15, done, and I think it would have been a lot better of a movie.
So Miller, what did you think of Blade Runner 2049?
It made me want to go to sleep.
Funnily enough, the person that's not here, Darren, actually did fall asleep
twice.
Yes.
Twice. Both screenings he went to, asleep.
He's like, I'm going to go see it again because I fell asleep the first time, and then he fell asleep the second time. Thankfully, he didn't fall asleep at the same part, so he doesn't have to go see it a third time. But
so what did you think of 2049?
Yeah, so boring. At first, I was into it, and it's like Will said, it's a very pretty movie. It's acted really well, but it just takes forever to get to the point. And I had the same problem with
Arrival
and Sicario, and because it just felt like both films were just going in circles. So, yeah, but I love Prisoners, so I don't know where that comes from. So that's weird.
Have you seen Enemy?
I've not seen Enemy.
Okay. I've watched a little bit of that movie, and 15 minutes into it, I turned it off.
Oh.
It's like, I cannot handle this right now.
What, was it boring, or was it just, like, too confusing?
Because
I've heard it's
very, I wouldn't say pretentious, but it is a very, very artsy movie. And just at that time when I was watching it, and just the plot of that movie, I was just like, I cannot handle this right now.
Are these both American movies, or are they? Because I know Dennis Villeneuve.
Everything he's done is.
What was that?
I know he's done a lot of Spanish language movies.
Well, every major movie that he's done is Enemy,
every movie people know.
Prisoners. Yeah. Enemy, Prisoners, Arrival. Sicario, and 24.
So those are not Spanish language movies.
No.
Okay.
But anything else you got to say on 2049, Miller?
No.
I love this movie.
Of course you do.
I love this movie. I think Denis, however you say it, Denis Villeneuve. I know how you say his last name, but I don't know how you say his first. Denis Villeneuve. I think he's an incredible director, and I really liked Arrival. I love Prisoners. I don't like Sicario, but I love Blade Runner 2049. I think this. I mean, as you guys stated before, all of your positives, I'm just going to repeat. I mean, the cinematography is incredible. Roger Deakins, there's no way in hell he's not getting nominated for an Oscar. The screenplay and the character development, the plot development. I mean, this movie takes a long time to develop its plot, and I think it really works. This movie is just so beautifully crafted, and it's crafted with so much care. The score, that's one thing we haven't mentioned yet. Hans Zimmer's score is great. I think it might be my favorite score of this year. Some other things. Jared Leto's villain is great. Whatever her name is, the girl who played Love, is great. The only real problem I have with this movie, besides the thing I mentioned earlier, is one scene, another scene, that I think could have been cut, and that was the scene where Jared Leto kills one of his replicants. That scene, I couldn't figure out the point of that scene. I maybe there was something I was missing in it, but after it was over, I was just like, what was the point of that? it's the scene in the movie from the trailer where he's like, "Shh, happy birthday." It is really weird, and I could not figure out what he was trying to accomplish there. But everything else in the movie is fantastic, and I wonder what did you guys think of? Will, what did you think of the ending and how the movie wrapped up? Because there's a lot of twists and turns in this movie, and the way it comes out is not something I expected.
I mean, I liked the ending. I liked that Ryan Gosling spends the whole movie thinking that he's the kid.
Yeah.
And he's not the kid. And I really like that development. I like what that does to his character development. I love the way Ryan Gosling played that when he found out, that the kid was a girl, because there's the whole thing with the two identical DNA strands and one's a boy and one's a girl. I like that, that I like his the way he portrayed that, his performance when he finally finds out that the girl is the kid and that he is the copy. I like that. But like the way it ended, I don't want to say it's abrupt because it's not abrupt, but it's just it ends oddly. Like
I thought it was very rough.
I thought the ending was perfect.
My wife actually had to ask me, does Ryan Gosling die at the end? And I
like that. I think it just leaves. I think he did die, but I like that it just kind of leaves it open.
I don't think he did. He doesn't really like to get in contracts, so I don't think he wanted to come back. Maybe.
But yeah. I didn't see there wasn't really a reason for him to die, though.
He died. They say it in the movie. Sometimes dying for the right cause is the most human thing we can do.
I guess he served his purpose in getting Harrison Ford reunited with the right.
Right, but what I'm saying though was there wasn't it was like he just died because reasons. If he in fact died, to me, I didn't feel like he died. I felt like they had just gone through this incredible journey. He was exhausted, and he laid the fuck down in the sno. Honestly,
yeah, but I think they made a big point of him.
I feel like at some point after the credits, Harrison Ford is going to come back outside, and Ryan Gosling's going to take him the fuck home. For me, that's that.
Did you really stay through the entire credits?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm saying hypothetically after the credits. Hypothetically after Deckard visits with his daughter, that he's going to come back outside and Ryan Gosling's going to get up off the snow and take him the fuck home.
Yeah, the after credit scene is 2 hours of Ryan Gosling driving Harrison Ford home. I would not be surprised.
I wouldn't put it past this movie. I don't know, there are other things that me being, having the knowledge that I know about films and being a film critic and watching movies a different way than most other people. My wife asked questions that never occurred to me because there are things that are just left open to interpretation, and I accept that. She wanted to know, do you think that the girl knows that Deckard is her father? And I'm thinking, well, you'd think that would kind of come up in the course of their conversation that we don't get.
Yeah.
I would be fucking pissed if I was Ryan Gosling and I took Harrison Ford to see his daughter and he didn't even tell her he was her father.
But that has to make you wonder, for the casual moviegoer, did the movie explain things properly, I guess?
I think that's very obvious.
But I mean, it's kind of just a creativity thing. I don't think everything has to be just laid out for you.
No, I agree. I agree with you. But like I said, these were questions after we left the movie that my wife was asking me, and I was like, I didn't know how to respond because they weren't questions I thought of.
I mean, I don't think they're not valid questions. It's just like you just don't know. The movie's going to answer that. Like, I feel like they would, because why wouldn't they?
I think that's kind of an intentional thing to keep you thinking about this movie, and I think you can just interpret it any way you would.
It's just supposed to leave it on a hopeful ending.
Yeah, and I mean, I heard this whole. I don't think that she knew that Deckard was her father. I mean, I think they were gonna have a conversation, and then Deckard was gonna be like, "I'm your dad," but I did hear this like entire long drawn out theory about how she was a part of the Replicant Rebellion, and she's been in hiding and secretly plotting against whoever to help create a replicant uprising and blah blah blah.
What the fuck?
Yeah, but I don't think she knew that Deckard was her father. So yeah, final thoughts on Blade Runner 2049, Will?
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably never watch this movie again, and that says a lot, because I'm a completist. I mean, I own Suicide Squad. You know, I don't see myself buying Blade Runner 2049 on Blu-ray. I own Independence Day Resurgence. Okay, I have not watched it since I bought it. Okay, on Blu-ray, I've not watched it since, but I own it. I don't see myself buying this movie. It was just really fucking boring. But I mean, everything else was great. Everything else was great except it bored the shit out of me.
Okay, Miller, final thoughts?
I'm definitely not buying this movie because I already have too many Blu-rays.
I'm buying it. I'm fucking buying it.
It was a very pretty movie, but very boring, but still a lot of great things about it. At my own will, I will never watch this movie again, but I will probably see it again.
I will watch this movie many times in my life.
I'm sure we'll probably do a commentary on it.
Oh no!
I know.
I'm seeing it one more time because I kind of have to, but after that, I'm good for the rest of my life. There are movies. That's the weird thing about movies like this. There are movies I think this year I think are worse. Then I think Blade Runner 29 are better, but I'd rather watch them before I'd rather watch 2049 again because of how hard it is to get through.
I'm done, man. I'm done.
We broke Dylan.
It really is a painful fucking movie, Dylan.
It wasn't a painful movie for me.
Well, yeah, that's fine. But like, I walked out of that theater and I was like, I looked at the next showtime and it was 11 o'clock, and I'm like, the thought of watching this movie at 11 o'clock at night makes my skin crawl. I was like, I'm so sorry for those people.
If I could have, I would have gone and sat through that movie again.
That gave me fucking goosebumps.
Oh my god. I wish I could see this.
I'm just kidding.
Again, but I don't have time.
I'm glad you enjoyed it, Dylan. Will and I did not feel the same. But
anyways, what did you guys think of Blade Runner 2049? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Let us know in the comments below. If you like this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and check out all of our other videos. Check out our website, tillthelastcredit.com, and check out our Twitter @tillthelastcred. And until next time, it's Till Last Credit signing off.